All right, what is up guys? JaretCampisi with the beautiful Christina K. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna be doing a first ride and review on my brand new Ducati Diavel V4. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Okay, so first things first, this is our new bike and it is our newest giveaway bike. So right now we actually have 3 giveaway bikes worth over $100,000. We have our new Ducati Diavel V4. We've got our M1000R from BMW, and we have an MV Agusta Brutale 1000 RR that's actually at my buddy's shop right now because he's working on a custom exhaust. So if you sign up right now on Patreon, you'll be entered to win all 3 of those bikes. Patreon.com/Campisi Customs. It's always the first link in the description below. It's the biggest giveaway we've ever done, and I'm super excited. So today is all about the new Ducati Diavel V4, and I pulled out my Diavel 1260 because I wanted to kind of go over the changes and the styling and what we think about these bikes side by side. So let's start with the looks of the bikes. What did you do, burn yourself?
No, I smashed my foot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well actually, so that's one of the things that can be sketchy on this bike. When you put your feet down at a stoplight, you can run your legs into that and it's very painful. That hasn't changed between the new one and the old one. But styling wise, let's talk about it. So this is a Ducati Diavel 1260. And they went to the Diavel V4, which means it's a completely different engine. So you can see this engine right here, the V, boom, 2 cylinders. And you come over here to the Diavel V4, it's very similar looking, but there's actually 2 cylinders on each head now instead of 1. So it makes the bike totally different styling wise, and they designed the bike around the engine completely, so it makes it look completely different. Now, styling wise, the look has grown on me, but I think as a package, as a whole, the older bike actually looks better.
Yes,
I think.
I agree.
Yeah, so let's look at the headlights. So here's the new headlight. Actually does look pretty nice, and you got your air intakes here. That's actually to keep air away from the rider. That's not to cool the engine. And if you come over here to this headlight, I just think the old headlight actually looks better. It's kind of like a C like this, whereas the other one are C's side by side. Now, some people are probably saying, but Jared, that's the limited edition Ducati Diavel Lamborghini. It's still pretty much the same styling wise. Obviously it's different color and stuff, but it's pretty much the same as what a normal 1260 is. This one does have an exhaust on it, which cleans up the look quite a bit. The new exhaust on this one, I know what they were going for. They wanted everyone to know it's a V4. So that's why they put 4 exits on there, because there's 4 cylinders. But to me, that is not something that belongs on a Ducati. It's just too big, it's too bulky, and I don't like how it looks. Once we change this exhaust out with parts from Annie from Moto Million, the bike looks a whole hell of a lot better, and it's gonna shave a lot of weight. The wheels look super cool on the new one. Reminds me of the X Diavel wheels, which I always really liked. Single-sided swing arm, carried over, can't go wrong there. But I think just in general, actually the rear tail lights, Teens, you wanna press that, turn on that real quick? I do think the rear tail lights on the new one I know, God, look better than the ones on this one. You want to turn this one on? They just look new and really cool and sleek, whereas this one you just get the 2 in the back, so you can see like the tail lights. You can see how beautiful that rear tire is. So this is a 240 rear back tire, and once we get rid of this right here, we're going to do the same tail tighty where you put the plate over here. It opens up that rear end, excuse me, and it's the same size tire right here too. Suspension is very similar. Mine has Öhlins, but that's only because it's the special edition model. Normally they just come with the, I think it's the Marizaki and Sachs front and rear suspension. But you can just see too, like styling stuff here. I just don't think this area looks that good. You can fix this with a piece from Rizoma, which is what we're gonna do. But it's just kind of weird how you have this like double step. You have this thing here that covers like this area, and then see how it steps up here and there's like 2. I just don't think this looks good right here. And the turn signals, the stock turn signals up there.
I didn't even see that.
It just, there's so much going on up here. And like, again, all this stuff gets removed anyway. So you can see what we've done where we took off the mirrors completely. And then in this one, the turn signals are actually built into here. So turn the turn signals on, Teens. Look at that. See? They're down there built into it. Like, that's how it comes stock.
That's cool.
I mean, come on, dude. That blows away this one. Yeah, so that's a tank cover, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, the gas tank's underneath this. This is just a cover over the tank.
Well, the way it just flows nicely into your crotch area.
Yeah, it does.
Well, this one.
It looks really
like,
nice.
When I think of a Diavel, I think of this beefy.
This big BC muscular.
Fat.
I don't have a problem with this tank design. I think this tank looks fine. The problem I have is right in here in this area. It looks a little bit weird where it steps down. There's these plastic pieces. I think putting carbon there will make a big difference. Obviously there's no trellis frame anymore, so that changes the styling quite a bit. This is nice how these fold down. We're gonna get rid of them anyway. Take them out. You can easily take this off and carry a back passenger. This to me is a little weird, this design. You know, like look at this here, how this is all broken and separated. Pieces. And look at it how it was on the other one. Just
one big
all
piece.
One looks much better in my opinion, you know. But I mean, overall, it's still a very nice bike, especially for what it is, because it's technically a cruiser. I think it's one of the coolest looking, best looking cruisers. But I just think that the design stuff doesn't flow quite as good as the older model did. But again, a lot of this stuff can be changed. Even little things like this, like why are there all of these, the engine, this area right here is like the staple piece of the bike. And then they have like all these wires running right here. I just think it kind of takes away from the look and the aesthetic of the bike. And I even think like this piece, yeah, like this piece down here, like doesn't quite flow with the top piece. And then this is just like this weird like plastic stuff. Again, we're gonna fix all of this, but, and then we come to the price. These are $26,000 in the US, $26,000, and out the door you're probably going to be close to 30,000, whereas you can probably find a used version of one of these with a very low miles for 15k, 17, 18k. So I think value for money. I personally would buy one of these if it was my money, but we'll talk about the differences once we get on the bike. Oh, okay, so here's some of the main differences. One, obviously it's a V4, 168 horsepower. This one was like 160, so you're getting they said 10 horsepower. This is 30 pounds lighter than this bike, and that's probably the main difference I've noticed riding this bike. This one is a lot more agile, throwing it back and forth. This is still a great bike. You can still, you know, crush canyon roads and turns and all that, but on this thing, you definitely notice it. And I'd say that's probably the highlight of the bike. So, oh, and the dashboard, pretty freaking nice. Look at that, nice big dashboard. They lifted it basically off the Panigale. It's hard to see out here in the light, but it's very nice. Has all the rider modes, very similar to the old bike. But you do get an actual gas gauge where it shows the mileage to empty, which is super nice. Do you want to start this up, teens? We'll get to hear the sound difference. It's sure not going to be a fair comparison because this is stock and that has a Termi exhaust. So but we do have a Termi exhaust for this bike that we'll be doing very soon, and it greatly changes the sound. So go ahead and start it up. I already pre-warmed these bikes up so that she could rev them, so you don't have to yell at us in the comment section below. Let's hear how it sounds. Not bad. You can tell it's in there.
Yeah.
It sounds really good with an exhaust. Like yeah. Right now it's not so good.
They always sound like that when you first get them.
They do. All bikes do now.
Now this one. Oh my god.
One of my favorite sounding bikes.
Has a special place in my heart.
It does. Yeah.
Just like, oh, so
Pretty
good.
ridiculous. Might as well start that up since we got it out here. So we'll see how the sound is.
Wow. You need a ride to the next fueling station.
Yes, I do. I saw that. Okay, so that's kind of the little walk around overview, styling, old versus new. Let me know what you guys prefer styling wise in the comment section below. Do you like the 1260? Do you like the V4? Do you think it's worth the money? And next we're gonna do a little first ride and give you impressions on the bike. So let me get saddled up. Thank you, Christina, for your help.
Ride safe.
Thank you, I will. All right, I should have actually shown this before I was on the bike, but one of the great things about the Diavels are the seat height is really low, like Christina can flat foot. I'm 5'10", you can see like how easily I can flat foot. Oh, and this is the other thing, when you put your feet down, you gotta be really careful you don't slam them into these foot pegs. it can be very painful. So I usually try to put them behind the foot pegs when I put them down. The new dash is amazing. There's so much you can do. I love that you can see the fuel gauge there, your actual miles to empty. You can customize all this kind of stuff. You can connect your phone. You can connect your Bluetooth thing on your helmet to it, so you can get turn-by-turn navigation and all that kind of stuff, which is really cool. I've got it in sport mode right now. I think there are, let's see, you get sport, touring, urban, and wet. And then I think you can even have like the dash change through each one, but I just have it right now staying in this layout because I like this layout. So yeah, it's a really nice package, man. And people think that you have to get in here to turn the ignition on and off. It's actually just right here. Press this to start up the bike, like the ignition and everything, and then this is the on and off. You can't see it right now, but everything lights up at night, which is really nice. There is launch control up here, which is super cool. That's one of the staples of this bike, is the 0 to 60 is like sub 3 seconds, like 2.5 seconds on the old one. I never found a time for the new one, but I'd imagine it's pretty fast. And then you also have cruise control, which is really nice. It's right here. The only thing that this doesn't come with, which I think it should, is heated grips. They should just be standard, come with the bike. This is like a touring type bike, not touring, but you know, a cruiser type bike. So it should have all the creature comforts, in my opinion. So all right, let's get out on the road. I'll get away from my house, and then we'll start talking about the bike. All right. I wonder like how fast this is versus the old one. It's not like people really race these bikes, but it's just something that's curious. The engine is the same V4, similar V4 from the Panigale, but it's actually changed because it doesn't have Desmo valves. It actually has springs, and they detuned it, so it's taken from the Multistrada. It's called their Gran Turismo V4, so it is a little bit different from the Street Fighter that I have and the Panigales as well. But the V4 is a gem of an engine. Like, it's so smooth, and that's one thing I noticed immediately when I got on this bike. Very similar as far as riding position and comfort and all that, but the handling back and forth, man, you can really feel that weight loss. The power is a lot easier to manage on this bike. The twins are like very aggressive and very like raw and all that, which I love. I've always loved the twins. That's what made a Ducati for me. But I gotta say, switching to the V4 and what they're able to do as far as just making the bike smoother and easier to ride, there's definitely something to be said for that as well. It is a lot easier to ride than the twin. It's smoother, it's just more refined, it's like the performance is better, it handles better, it's just more comfortable. Everything about it is just, I wouldn't say, it's just, yeah, I mean, it's technically better, you know. I'm not saying it's more fun, but it is better. When they did the launch for this bike, they did it in Dubai at this like mountain road, and I was wondering, like, that's a weird place to do a launch for the new Diavel. And then I realized it's because the handling is so good. They really wanted to showcase how good this thing is. It almost feels like a naked bike when you're throwing it around back and forth, and because your seat height is so low, like a lot of people could probably rip a little bit more confidently on this, especially with that big back tire, because it's just the way that it's put together, the ergonomics and the seating position and everything just makes it really easy to go fast and very confidence inspiring. Even just pulling away like from first gear, the clutch is really easy to pull in. It's super smooth, and I'm in sport mode too. The throttle's not jumpy. Yeah, like even like the downshifts, much smoother than on my 1260. Don't get me wrong, I love the 1260, but there is something to be said for a smooth bike that just works and is easy to ride and use, you know. When this thing has an exhaust on it, I'm gonna obviously do a first ride with the new exhaust. I think that could completely change this bike. It's fast. It is very fast. Also, the mirrors on this bike, they work really well. I'm not getting vibes in it. I haven't felt any heat since riding the bike, which is really nice. It does have cylinder deactivation on the rear cylinders. So when you're riding slowly, you're not hard on the gas, or you're at a stoplight, it'll cut the rear two cylinders to try and keep heat away from the rider, which is really nice. A lot of the newer Ducatis now don't really have heat problems anymore. I mean, every bike gets hot. We're sitting on top of an engine, but they've really done a good job of trying to keep the bikes cooler, and that's something I really appreciate. Yeah, I mean, this thing is I can only imagine with an exhaust and tune how freaking crazy fast this thing is going to be. You could embarrass a lot of sports cars on this bike for sure, from stoplight to stoplight. Any round turns too, like this thing just leans over. So well done. So one thing a lot of people were wondering about is the suspension. Why doesn't it have full Olin suspension? I kind of agree they should offer like an S model. But this suspension does a really good job of keeping the bike stable and planted, but also absorbing bumps. Maybe it is a touch softer than the Olin suspension, but for riding on the road, which is what this is made for, it's very comfortable and it does a really good job. And of course you could adjust this to your weight, which is what you're supposed to do. But like here, this is almost a 90-degree turn, and like yeah, man, this is a fast bike. It's deceiving because it's so easy to ride. You're going a lot faster than you think you are. Again, here's like a pretty sharp turn, and like you can just lean it over. I mean, that right there, like this, man, it's so flickable. I think that's really the highlight of this bike. How smooth the engine is and how easy it is to throw this thing in and out of turns. Like, it is a night and day different from the Diavel 1260. It probably doesn't have in stock form the character that the Diavel 1260 has when it comes to the twin, the sound, the feel, the rawness of it. But if you love the V4 engine and you love the Diavel like looks, I mean, obviously this is the one to get. If, like I said, if you wanted to get a Diavel but you don't want to spend 26, 27, 28 out the door, finding a used 1260 is a really good way to go, and probably what I would do. But luckily I'm in a position where I can buy the latest and greatest bikes, try them out for you guys, and give you my honest thoughts and feelings. Like, this bike has grown on me a lot just in the week that I've had it, just because of the ease of use and the comfort. It's just, yeah, it's a really good bike, man. And I think when we get an exhaust on there and we hear the true power and sound of this V4, I saw a Moto Millions build with the Diavel V4, and they put the Termi on it, and it has 2 exits on each side, and it was shooting flames on the dyno and shit, and I was like, man, that's so badass. So I think that's the exhaust that we're going to use. And actually I'm doing a whole custom paint scheme for this bike and custom design. We're going to have custom designed wheels as well, from Kick-Ass Designs. I'll throw their Instagram up here on the screen. They make some really cool Diavels and really cool bikes in general, and they reached out and said they'd love to do a set of wheels for me. So yeah, like, between the BMW, the custom bike build that we're doing with this one, and then the MV Agusta, I think it's really cool that we're going to have just like very different builds and videos coming for you guys each week, along with my Lamborghini Street Fighter, which I'm going to start adding parts to as well. So yeah, just a really good time on the channel. I'm super excited for everything that we got going on, and I hope you guys are too. So this is another thing about the Diavel that's really nice, is like if you get out for a ride and there's nobody around, obviously you're ripping through back roads, whatever, and then like if you get stuck behind a car or like traffic, like you can totally do that in sport mode, but it's just nicer to kick it down into like touring, and then you still have full power, but it's just delivered like really smooth, and it just kind of like chills everything out. Now you're just like riding, you're chilling, you're still comfortable, you're not mad, there's no heat right now, and you're kind of just like on the way to your favorite road. You're still comfortable to get there, and then when you get to your favorite road and nobody's around, you can rip, have a bunch of fun, and then ride it back home, sit in traffic. It's not a big deal. You're not leaned over on your wrists, you're not uncomfortable, and I think that's really where the Diavel shines as a bike. There's really no compromises. I mean, unless you wanted to take it on the track, you could probably still do it, but it definitely wouldn't be the best bike for that. But that's what, to me, that's like the gem of what the Diavel is the fact that it, as far as a road bike, it can really do everything. You can tour on this bike, you can ride it for long highway stints, you can take it to canyon roads. Like there's really nothing that the bike can't do. If you're stuck in traffic, you're not really that pissed off. It's easy to ride. Like, look at this turning, and even like, dude, the balance of this bike when you're going slow, like I can just sit here and just balance the bike like almost indefinitely. It's kind of crazy. And like even pulling out from a stop and like low revs, That's something that the twin Ducatis always just didn't like, being at low revs. So like, let's just see here. Yeah, so I mean, it's still, you can feel the engine's not super stoked below 4,000, but it's not like it's not nearly as like choppy as the 1260 is. And you're still getting a lot of torque down low because of how they tuned this engine. So like if I wait until I'm way down here and then I twist the throttle, like look at that, it still picks up right away. And I can hear the engine like from here, like the actual engine, not from the exhaust. And I can tell when it has an exhaust on it, it's gonna be badass. It's just way too quiet right now, and it's just unnecessary. And Christina was saying that today too, because I rode to the gym. She was like, I didn't even know you were around me. I couldn't hear you. And I think it's more unsafe. Like when you actually have an exhaust that's loud, people are way more alerted to your presence. So it's a little bit safer in my, whether or not that's true, that's just how I feel. But yeah, man, how easy this thing is to rip around turns and stuff. Very, very good bike, man. A lot of fun, dude. I'm impressed. Finding neutral is easy. This bike is obviously still braking in. Let's throw it back in sport mode. It's nice they give you engine temperature too. 199, 200 degrees. That's, I mean, it's a pretty hot day out here, so that's staying pretty cool. I am moving most of the time, but look at how fast it picks up through the revs, man. That was like half throttle. Such a fun bike, man. It is a really good bike. I only have 50 miles on this beast. But that right there is, to me, and the brakes are insane. Look at these brakes. So see, I think that's where the difference is between the Olin suspension and this one. Like if I grab a handful of brakes, see how much it's diving? Like it's really diving. The Olin's usually does a little bit better at keeping the bike stable and not letting it dive that much. But this is softer and more comfortable for daily riding, so I'm guessing that's probably why they did it. And it could be an adjustment thing too. Maybe it's not quite adjusted perfectly for my weight. But yeah, overall it's a hell of a package. It's a really good bike. I'm excited to be sharing my journey with you guys with this bike, getting all the parts and stuff on it, and the exhaust and the custom paint scheme and all that. So I hope you guys are excited as well. But that's going to do it for the first ride and review of our new 2024 Ducati Diavel, a V4. If you've ridden one, I would love to know your thoughts on this bike versus the 1260 in the comment section below. Do you think it's a step up from the 1260? Do you think it was the right move? Should they have kept the 1260 as a twin, the Diavel? At first, my thought was they should have kept it as a twin, but honestly, after riding this bike, I can kind of see that why they did it. Like, look at this. Look at this. Just, that's like a 90-degree turn. I know it doesn't ever come off on YouTube on my GoPro, but yeah, the handling is definitely there. The performance is definitely there. So kudos to Ducati. I think once we clean up a little bit of the looks, it's going to be a gem of a motorcycle. So don't forget, guys, you can enter to win this bike along with two others. Patreon.com/Campisi Customs. It's always the first link in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a big old juicy thumbs up. Subscribe for more, and we'll see you all in the next one. Peace.